your questions. So I would like, just as Babia said, I'm a 6-year neurosurgery resident at Johns Hopkins, and I just want to explain a little bit what was my pathway, so you can see and realize that I'm not a superhero, I'm not a weird person, I'm just a normal human being as any one of you that had a dream, that worked hard, that had a lot of luck and a lot of hard work, and just achieve one of my major dreams. So the same way with different pathway, any of you can achieve it. So one of the first things to learn as an international medical graduate, to achieve any type of residency, medical, neurosurgery, any other specialty in the United States, is that the same pathway does not exist for two different people. Okay. Every time I meet an IMG who has much or is an attending now, we have different pathways, but the most common guiding thing is that we all had a dream. We all found ways, right? So this is just like a tree with many branches and many leaves, and each one of us are there to learn from each other. So the first thing I just wanted to do is introduce a little bit my origins. During this talk, I'm gonna give you some tips or some things that I thought were important for my pathway. That doesn't mean maybe as important for yours, but I just wanted to share a little bit of experience with all of you, and then I will open it to some questions. I'm from Blanes. Blanes is a very small town, 40,000 people, in very close to Barcelona in Europe. And on the right side, this is one of my favorite views of my hometown. Is from the botanical garden where my uncle works as a gardener, and is absolutely my favorite. So people many times ask me, oh my God, you live in a paradise. How come you didn't stay here, right? And I always answer, no one likes to leave their country, their family, their culture, their roots behind and go to a new country. It's scary. It's difficult. It cost a lot of money that not many of us have, and is challenging. So if I could do what I've done there here, I would have never left. So that's my answer. However, I always add that I always bring with me my origins and my roots, because are what make me who I am today. And from this, I just wanted to introduce you my family. My family is very important for me. On the left side, you have my mom and my dad. They are both teachers, very humble family. My dad's family came from the South. They had to immigrate from the South because they couldn't find a job. They took a train and moved to Barcelona, where they live 4 or 5 families in the same house. And my dad says that he was very happy because they were able to afford a bathroom. And my mom comes, my grandfather from my mom's side was a gardener and worked for a very big family in Barcelona as their gardener and farmer. So we come from very humble origins. My parents are both teachers, and they say you cannot choose the family that you come from, but I'm so honored and happy to be part of this extraordinary family who help. You can see my sister as a little kid, very funny and active, and then one of my cousins. And on the right side, you can see my grandma's family, who were 13 kids, all they all grew up in the post-war time in Spain. They were from the side of the war that lost the war. So my great grandfather had to flee to France, and all these things I always say that made me who I am today. So always remembering them, always bringing them with me. I just grew up as a regular kid, playing, going to camp, working with my parents, helping them, enjoying with my sister. Here are my friends on the right side. And again, I studied a lot, I studied hard, but I also learned the importance of having a very strong social support that can help you in those moments that you need it. And why neurosurgery? Why the brain? So when I was 12 to 14 years old, I was a very avid reader. I loved reading books, and my mom gave me this book from Oliver Sacks, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. that Oliver Sacks was a neurologist and psychiatrist, and he explained some of the histories and clinical descriptions of his patients. And I was absolutely fascinated by the brain, the psyche, and how the brain works, the motor functions, the speech functions. So very early as a kid, I thought that that's what I wanted to devote my life to, the brain and all its intricacies. And here on the right side, you have my high school as any other, with a regular corridor where many of you, I bet, can picture yourself in. So one of the first things I wanted to transmit to you is the importance of having a dream, right? Like I think that despite all the challenges, despite all the bad things we see in the world, we live in a good point in time, despite all the bad things that we can always do better. We live in a place where in some countries, if you work hard, if you show what you can do, you are not going to be judged so harshly for where you come, how you look, who you love, or where you are. And this is very important. So the importance of having a dream, and I say below, and a plan to achieve it. And this is very, very, very unique of people in medicine as well. You may want to do whatever you want, whatever you propose in life, but if you don't have a plan, you don't look ahead of time, and you are not ready, as much as you can dream, you need to dream awake, because it's the only way to achieve that dream. So on the left side, you have here one of the first cases I saw at Johns Hopkins when I first came as a medical student. And this is a pontine glioma, a pilocytic astrocytoma, in a 17-year-old man or boy in the US who lost his ability to walk. He was wheelchair bound. He couldn't work. He was one of the best American football players in his college, which you may know is very important in the United States. When the young people became professional athletes, that was absolutely part of his life, and he was wheelchair bound, was starting to lose function in the cranial nerve and his ability to swallow. So I saw this incredible surgery by Dr. Quiñones and Dr. Chalo, where they did a telovelar approach to go into the brainstem, which is the heart, the center of all our most basic functions and the connection in between our brain and our body. And they went in, took it all out. And just 1 week after the surgery, the patient was able to walk, talk, eat by himself without problem. That was incredible. I was so amazed by what I saw that I could only continue pursuing my dream at that time, that was becoming a neurosurgery resident in the United States. So you saw that when I was 14, 16, I became interested in the brain. I did my high school and bachelor's degrees in my hometown, and then I moved to Barcelona, to the University of Barcelona. I completely fell in love with the university and the medical school. As you can see in the left side, that's what we saw when we left the lectures. It's a very old university where Santiago Ramón y Cajal, which is one of our Nobel Prize here in Spain, who work a lot in neurons, did some of his original works. And I love history, medicine, and in general. So I was able to see some of these historical books of his definitions of the neurons. I was fascinated by the brain, as I said many times already. And during my neuroanatomy lecture, one of my teachers opened his office doors to all the students that had more questions for him. So after any anatomy lab, I would bug him and I would ask him about the brain connections, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the amygdala, how all those structures work. And he fed my fascination for neuroscience, and he encouraged me to join the neuroanatomy lab, where another student, Arnaud Bennett, and myself built a neurosurgical lab with a surgical microscope that they didn't use anymore in the neurosurgery wards. And we just did anatomical dissections to learn neurosurgery, to learn how to operate. We were very young and didn't have many resources, but we definitely had a strong will. So my first my first publications ever were during my medical school, where I work with this incredible team in some of the surgical anatomy descriptions of the trochlear nerve, of endoscopic approaches compared to transcranial approaches. And that's how I was introduced to neurosurgery. So that's my second point, the importance of national mentors and a strong foundation, right? Many of you may have the dream that you may want to come to the United States or another country to do neurosurgery, but it's very important to first appreciate what you have home, right? Not only your family, but also your mentors, the people who are brilliant and excellent, have made their own careers in your home country, which it is as difficult as anywhere else for neurosurgery, and are working hard to keep that ongoing into your home country. So very important that you get in touch with them, you work with them, you learn with them, and you really, really consider them with the honor and prestige that they deserve. At the same time that you are able to establish these strong connections, I always ask my mentors here, you know, it is very important because they treated me as a peer. They did not only saw me as a medical student, they saw me as somebody who would be their peer in the future. So they honed my interest in neurosurgery. They helped me, and they did not just push me away. Oh, this is a medical student. No, they made me part of the team. And I think that that reciprocity is very important, from the student to the local mentors, from the local mentors to your students who are going to be your colleagues just in few years. And then after my medical school, in between my 5th and 6th year, I really, really knew I wanted to do the neurosurgery residency in the United States. So I stopped a year, which is not very common in Spain at all. The first half of the year, I dedicated to study my step 1. 6 months, I locked down in a room and I just studied. And then the second 6 months, I got a grant to go to the United States. The grant originally was to learn English, to learn how to speak English. And I used it and invested it to do rotations at Ohio State University, Johns Hopkins, and Harvard Medical School at the Brigham. But that, of course, require many sacrifices for all of you that want to go to a new country. And some of you may have visited already or done some rotations there or done some work there and understand what I mean. It is difficult. You leave your family behind, your friends. You have to, your English is perfect. That, I think, it's not a problem for you, but it's difficult to come to another city, adapt to the traditions, the misunderstandings, the cultural shock. So this is something that you learn to appreciate, and the culture just becomes part of you. And now I'm half Catalan, half Spanish, half American. Well, I guess a third and a third and a third. So this is me greeting, this is my family greeting me back to Spain on the right side, and this is left side during Christmas time, celebrating Christmas with my family through FaceTime. So after my rotations as a medical student, which were important because I was able to see patients, I still had 1 year of medical school, but I had the incredible opportunity during my rotations to meet with Dr. Alfredo Quiñones Hinojosa, who has been and is still a role model for me and a very important mentor figure. Dr. Quiñones, I don't know if you know of him, but he is a star in neurosurgery and the world of IMGs. He jumped the fence as an illegal immigrant from Mexico, and he worked as a farmer in the fields of California. He always said he just had $5 in his pocket, and he was able to study English. He went to Berkeley. He did his medical school in Harvard, and then became a resident at UCSF, one of the best programs in neurosurgery in the United States. Then was an attending at Johns Hopkins Neurosurgery, where I worked with him, and now he's a chairman at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. So I think that he's the ultimate example of the American dream, and how if you work hard, you can truly achieve your dreams no matter where you come from. That's a lesson that he always taught us. I worked with him as a medical student, and then he told me, I have an idea for you. you can come back and help me writing a book. I wanna make a video atlas of neurosurgery with videos, and I want you to do it with me. And I want you to put together a team. So I want you to come back as a postdoctoral fellow after finish medical school. As many other mentors say, because funding is something challenging, he said, I would need you in about a year, and it would be very important if you can find your own grants. So I applied to several grants in my home country, and I got 2 good grants to be able to do 4 years and a half of postdoctoral fellowship with Dr. Q. So before joining him, I had 6 months, I had a year of medical school left. I condensed it all in 6 months. And that, again, the importance of your local mentors, that was only possible because my mentors in the School of Medicine told me, we have worked with you, we know how you are. If this is what you want to do, we know you can do it. Tell us, what schedule do you want to do? I put together three different schedules: the morning med students, the afternoon, and the ones in the other hospital. And I did my last year in 6 months. The second part of the year, I used it to study step 2 because it was essential for me to have the steps done before doing research, so I wouldn't be stuck in that step, which happens to many IMGs. And then I joined Dr. Quiñones in his lab. This is his team back in 2014. I met all this group of incredible, motivated, bright, brilliant people. We all worked together 24/7. It was very hard, but very fulfilling. And I was able to do, well, my message here, my next message was, in order to follow this path, it is key to be courageous. And being courageous doesn't mean doing the craziest thing in the world. Sometimes being courageous means believing in yourself. And not in a way, I'm the best in the world. No, in a way of, okay, I can do this. I can be ready. This is something important. I think that I can do it. And putting yourself out there, so when there are opportunities, you can truly accept them and bring them forward in a good way, leaving your signature of how you work and how people will know that this is your work ethics. So in that way, I was able to work with Dr. Quiñones, and I wrote as a postdoctoral fellow with him the Video Atlas of Neurosurgery, for which I was the video editor and co-editor with Dr. Q. We had this incredible team of residents all over the world, postdoc fellows, students, neurosurgery residents, and we put together all these chapters. I was able to oversee all of them, so I was co-author of all of them. But what I learned the most is how to collaborate, how to direct a group of people, and how to be stronger with each other and move things forward, such as writing a whole video atlas. And then after doing that, I was trying to think, okay, I've done all this research with Dr. Q, I wrote this book with him. Now my major challenge, I really want to apply for the match, but what are the important things for that? What are my chances as an international medical graduate to be able to match in neurosurgery? So if you PubMed, actually in the past 10 years, there have been several studies that describe a little bit what things are important, how many IMGs match, and what are the characteristics of these IMGs that match in neurosurgery. So there's this paper, quite recent, from 2020, from the UCSF team with Mitch Berger, Dr. McDermott, etc. And they did a retrospective review of the AANS membership for the residents and medical students. And then here, as you see in results, they analyzed 1,857 neurosurgery residents. They found that about 9% were foreign medical graduates and 90% were USMGs, US medical graduates. As you can see here, I haven't marked it, but the FMG match was 24%. We think that is something extremely, like we have 0.0001% chances to match, but they saw that 24% of the FMGs that apply were able to match in neurosurgery. That's quite high number, versus 83% of the US medical graduates that wanted to apply to neurosurgery and match. Some of the characteristics, and this is just this descriptive of the foreign medical graduates. They were male, they were older than the US medical graduates. The average was about 34 years, which, you know, sometimes another thing we think, oh, because we are international, we do this very convoluted pathway, we are older, they won't want me. Well, 34 years is quite good, and I've seen older people. So I think that we all have time. And then they were very likely to take research years before matching. So this is one of the recommendations I can give all of you. If of all of you who are interested in matching in neurosurgery in the United States, research or spending some time in there is very important. And then for those programs that are associated with the NIH that have research, and some people consider them the top programs, one of the important things that this paper was pointing out is that those international medical graduates, they were even a little bit older, 35. They had higher age indices, so they did publications, and their publications were having an impact. They had around 7 publications versus 2. I think that number may be a little bit higher right now, and were extremely likely to have taken some years of research. So depending on where you would like to match, you can see here a little bit of the difference. So those were exactly the tips of the match that I was following about 10 years ago when I was in your stage, right? So once you are in the match, what are the important things when you apply that can increase your chances? Number one, rank more programs. And this is a little bit tricky because actually applying for the match costs money, and you know, it's very hard. A lot of people had to work, try to make this money work to be able to apply, but you need to rank as many programs as you can. I put almost all the programs in neurosurgery in the United States because I really, really wanted to do neurosurgery. Of course, those that had higher USMLE scores usually have more chances. I think this is going to change a little bit because now I think next year, step 1 is just going to be pass or fail. But I've heard from some of the program directors that what they probably will do is they will have more into account the scores in step 2. Of course, some things that are logical had fewer attempts at these exams. In the point 4, having some type of security that you will be able to stay in the country is something they have into account, and for them is a key thing because they don't have to worry about if you will be able to finish the program or not. So some were US citizens because their parents were US citizens and they move abroad, or some of them had green cards. In my case, I was able to get a green card during my research time, so that was always a benefit. And then, of course, speaking English is essential because if you are fluent and you can talk to the patients, it's very different. And however, I can tell you, my English is far away from being perfect still now, and it was far away from being perfect at that point. So just that with practice, I think is the least important point. And then some people say that another factor that you have passed in between you graduated from medical school and you apply for neurosurgery residency. But I do think that doing these years of research at US institution is even more important than that, because the time that elapsed, the 4 or 5 years, truly can help you by growing your net of connections within the United States. So finally, I matched into neurosurgery. This is with my sister who came to visit. I had no idea where I was going to match. The match is a process where you name and rank your programs. The programs rank you. One day you get a letter or an email that tells you where you're going to spend the next 7 years of your life. So it was nerve-wracking, but I made it, and that was very exciting. This is one picture of me doing a surgery as a PGY3. And I can tell you, as hard as it is, and as hard as it has been, I have no regrets, and I would do everything the same. The honor and the pleasure to be able to see the brain, to see the spinal cord, to operate, the big responsibility that we all have in front of our patients is very important. So your society is named after Walter Dandy, and here I just wanted to make a note that he is a very important figure there still to date, and this is as you honor him, I wanted to honor him in my talk. He is considered by many the founding father of neurosurgery, and he basically invented the neurosurgery residency. It was a little bit different. Europe, they were big pioneers, and but then is considered in the United States the founding father of neurosurgery, together with Dr. Harvey Cushing. This is my class. I'm it's very has a big significance for me that we are 4 out of 4 females in neurosurgery. As you saw, more males as IMGs are matching, but that is also for neurosurgery in general, is still a very male dominated specialty in the United States. So for me, the fact that we are 4 very strong female presences in the neurosurgery panorama has a lot of significance. We have formed a network of help and support, supporting each other. This is me with Amanda at our intern boot camp as first years, just learning how to use the drill in plastic skulls. And then this was my first case where I scrapped just to assist in an aneurysm here with Dr. Huang, our program director, and Dr. Chris Jackson, who was one of my chiefs, and then now he's an attending at Johns Hopkins. So the next point that I wanted to point out is the importance of mentors, right? We get where we want and we get where we are thanks to our family, of course, ourselves, our close network, but also our mentors. And those are very important mentors of mine, Dr. Vera Gauda, who is now mentoring me during my research time, Dr. Quiñones, I talk about him a little bit, Dr. Galia, who is our skull-based surgeon, and he's a very important mentor for me in the role of how to be a neurosurgery resident. And then Dr. Huang, who is our neurosurgery program director. He is a spectacular role model. I really appreciate her. She's a true hero in my mind. She was given a full professorship and also a professorship to work with other neurosurgeons in glioblastoma. So it's very important to have people who not only mentor you, right? Mentors are people who are very close, who can talk to you about your problems. But then I wanted also to explain the difference in between mentors and sponsors. Mentors are going to be those people that you can reach out when you have a problem. Sponsors are going to be more people who are going to be able to give you opportunities or talk to you at conferences, present you to other people, but maybe are a little bit more distant. And those people are very important too. Those who can help promoting you. And other role models that I think is important to remark are those role models that you cannot talk to because they are not here anymore, but that you see as figures in history that had a role that changed how things went. And for me, this role model is Dr. Louise Eisenhardt. I bet that many of you know Dr. Harvey Cushing, but very few of you, if any, know Dr. Louise Eisenhardt. She was known as the first lady of neurosurgery and was Dr. Cushing's right hand and left hand woman. She was born in New Jersey and she started at a very young age as the editorial assistant of Dr. Harvey Cushing. He helped him writing many of his monographs and books. And then as a woman at that time, we are talking 1920s, she enrolled medical school, she did medicine at Tufts, and she became a pathologist. She continued with her editorial work, correcting and helping Dr. Harvey Cushing with many of his publications. And then after he finished medicine, he followed Dr. Harvey Cushing wherever he went as his editorial. And then he started a brain tumor registry. So thanks to her with Dr. Harvey Cushing, Dr. Eisenhardt and Dr. Cushing created the first brain tumor registry that had more than 2,000 patients and more than 50,000 pathological photographs at that time. So when the neuropathologist of Dr. Cushing became the chair of neuropathology at the hospital, she became the personal neuropathologist to Dr. Cushing. And she also was the editor of Journal of Neurosurgery. So I just want to put this out here, a piece of history and somebody who is a role model to follow for me. And then next, I know that you all are excellent students. Babia was telling me how, in India, you all study so hard, studying is so important. You just had the quiz and the competition. And of course, this is essential and this is very important to become who all we are. But I wanted also to remark the importance of having something else in life as well. This is two of the very bright, hardworking neurosurgery residents on the left with one of the wife. We are all making dumplings. After an extenuating call, we are on the right top with two of my co-residents doing an anatomy cadaver, and then on the right side, celebrating Christmas at the Department of Surgery annual party. So it is very important that we not only focus on studying and working hard, but we also need this balance to be compensated by a very strong social support who are going to be there the day that you need them, right? I always say that books, papers, conferences, none of these people will come to your funeral, right? These are the people who are there for you in the hard moments where things don't go right, and those relationships are very important to hone and to take as much care as you take for your professional life. These are our residents here as a PGY2. We do an annual party to celebrate, and I really love the atmosphere at Johns Hopkins because we really are a family and we are a team. And as any family, there are problems and there are times where things explode like any loving family. And then you help each other and things go great and you find support when you need it. This is me on the left side with a pediatric neurosurgery team. We have a international medical student with us that was coming to rotate, a fellow from New York on the far left, and the second left side on my right is a resident from across town. So with this, I want to say that collaboration in between people at different levels, students with fellows, is very important because again, it's a feedback. And today I'm your student, but tomorrow I may be your coworker, or who knows, I may be your boss, right? So here on the right, we are with Dr. Cohen doing a craniotomy for a brain tumor and truly learning and enjoying the surgery while helping a patient. And this on the right side is with Dr. Huang again in a petit comité celebrating her 50th birthday. And that was something that shocked me a lot. In Spain, there's a little bit more hierarchy and distance in between the attendings and the residents. And in the United States, there's something that I admire that they are able to do, that is while still maintaining this professional respect in between the student and the teacher. There's this more relaxed atmosphere where it gives you access to be able to ask questions, be able to be wrong and be corrected. And I think that that's what pushes people forward as well, that they are not afraid to ask, they are not afraid to be wrong and to be corrected, because we understand that that's the only way to progress. In the left side is me during the pandemic, doing my call. That day we were doing a subdural hematoma. It was nerve-wracking operating in COVID patients, as many of you know. So I wanted to thank all of you who have been working during this terrible pandemic that has affected many of our lives. It felt a little bit that we were getting better, but this is coming and going. So please keep it up, full of energy. And I know that fulfilling your dreams in this worldwide pandemic is even more difficult than before, but time is gonna pass and things are gonna get better. And this is me as a dancer, again, trying to find that balance that is very important. Dance was very important in my life. I did it for 21 years. I took the Royal Opera exams from London, and this is me right before starting my residency in my retirement ceremony, doing my last dance, literally. And then the last important thing is giving back. So right now, Pavia knows it. I'm on vacation. It's the first time in 2 years that I see my family. They are all downstairs waiting for me to have lunch together, but I'm here with you. Why? Because it's very important and it's something so relevant that you give back. Each one of us is one step further than our past. So we have the responsibility to give back to our people, to our community, and the people who are where we were 5, 10, 12 years ago. So it is for me a huge honor to be here sharing some of the stories and some of the things I've learned, some of the things I do. And this in five is just one of the 10 examples of giving back. I'm part of this foundation of Spanish scientists in the US who mentor Spanish students. They can be medical students, graduate students who have interest in research. And again, I think that is a big benefit that we give back to our countries, to the people who want to follow our pathway, and we share our experiences. And many people ask me, okay, how can we collaborate? You are at Johns Hopkins. I want to collaborate with you. I want to help you. The pandemic doesn't allow me to come. So collaboration is always possible. It is difficult, but it's possible. And this is an example. The medical students in the US had the same problem that you may be having, right? They wanted to collaborate with people at Johns Hopkins, but they couldn't come physically because of the pandemic. It was not allowed. So what we did with Harrison Snyder, he is now graduated from University of Virginia. He last year was a medical student. When he contacted me, he wanted to collaborate. So we worked together in a case report that was one of the 5 cases published in PubMed. We cannot share patient information amongst institutions or amongst countries unless there is a very clear review board that has approved it. So what we did is we did this PRISMA guidelines review. He did all the review part, helped me writing the part of the paper. I did the patient part. I review and wrote the manuscript, and we published this together. Literally, it's still improved in the internet, but it's already PubMed search. So, you know, for those people who want to collaborate, that reach out to other people, is very important though that you come out with ideas, that you reach out to people and be like, hey, I saw this case, or I have this neurosurgeon, my mentor in India, that wants to publish this case series, and we want you to collaborate, we want you to help us. But it's important that you have this initiative of not just saying, I want to come to United States. No, having what I say, this plan. I want to collaborate with you. I think this is a good idea. Are you interested? This is very helpful because there's many people who reach out and you wanna have a plan so you can follow the steps to achieve it. That's it. I was a little bit it was a little bit longer of what I wanted to leave time for questions, but we still have few minutes. I've seen that some questions are coming to the chat. But before moving to the questions, I want to thank this incredible team that you have here with Walter Dandy Neurosurgical Club of India. Is incredible what you have put together. Thank you so much to all of you. And it is an honor for me to be here today. Please ask any questions. I don't know, Babia, how you want to do it. Open microphone or if you want, I can.
First of all, thank you, Jordina. I mean, it's an honor. Every time we talk, I get more and more inspired. And, no matter how much problems I'm having in my life, it's just whenever I talk to some people like you, I'm like, let that person, things going through hell, I need to work. So thank you so much, for not just motivating me, but so many people from India who want to do something, but just because of lack of resources, mentorship and all, they're not able to. So just to add on here, we did a research survey and we found out that 87.3% of female in Indian students, they fear that they would have been better into neurosurgery, and they felt lack of mentorship. I mean, 87.31% female students felt lack of mentorship. And that just brings out the very grave condition where either the people are not competent enough or they're not getting out of their own shells and boxes just with the fear of getting rejected. I mean, if I tell you about my own thing, I have full of emails, but just 2 of them replied out of 102 emails that I sent. So, like Jordina mentioned, it's really important that we keep on texting people because that's a very important aspect. And so thank you, Jordina, so much. I guess we would take some questions. I disabled the chat in between so that, we don't have distractions, but I think we can I'm gonna re-enable the chat so that everyone can type in. So guys, you can type in your questions in the chat box. We can go for another, I think 5 to 10 minutes because Jordina is on vacation, so we won't bother her much, but we can certainly take some good quality questions. So guys, come on, shoot your questions, type them in the chat box, and I'll be happy to present it to Jordina.
And I want to thank Dr. Edara, who is leaving some very important information and stats in the chat. And yeah, it is very difficult. It is not a straight path. It is not a non-sacrifice path. And again, I think establishing connections and appreciating what you have in your own country is very important first step.
So Jordina, we've started getting questions, and also I'd also like to pay my gratitude to Dr. Idara. I mean, I didn't know he will be having. I just shared the link with him, and I mean, he's been such a motivational personality. Like every time, he's been sending me messages. He's been telling me about stuff which I'm not even aware of, and he's a real motivation for me all through this. So thank you, Dr. Idara, for being here with us today. So starting with question 1, that is from Sonali Mishra, which says, can we get USMLE step 1 after second year without having any papers published?
Yes, the steps do not depend on how many papers you have published. So the steps you can take at any point. I would recommend you for information on the steps to go to their website. They have been changing a lot with the pandemic, the requirements that they require for you to be able to take them, but there is no publications limit to take the actual tests.
Thank you, Jordina. Next question up we have, is taking neurosurgery after general surgery a good option? I think if you could answer that, in more aspect to United States, because I think they're 2 entirely different streams over there. So yes.
Yeah, so I think it depends, right? Because some people have done it. There are also preliminary programs. I know some people who have done the preliminary programs in neurosurgery. It's always a balance. Again, there's no a straight path, or there's no a recipe for success that we can write down, and if you follow it, you will accomplish those goals. It's very difficult and very different for each one of us. What I would recommend is when I apply, for example, I applied to all these neurosurgery programs and also to all these general surgery residencies and preliminary programs that they specifically have, and they accept a lot of internationals. Why? Because one of the major challenges of international medical graduates is that unless we went there as medical students, that is truly the only time where you can see and treat patients. It is considered illegal once you graduate from medical school. Before having a residence in the United States, you are not supposed to be treating patients or doing internships that involve patient care. So that's their main the main problem that they consider when analyzing a curriculum of an international? Well, you have never been a doctor in the United States. So how do we know that you're going to be the type of physician that we are interested on? So I do think that doing this general surgery residency first may get rid of this fear, but it's true that it's very different. So you truly need to want to do it to follow that pathway. So what I would recommend is, it's a great plan B. I'm gonna do a preliminary. But I would try to shoot for the neurosurgery residency first. If that doesn't work, I think a very good plan B is doing general surgery or a preliminary program, get that clinical experience. So then when you reapply, you can say, I had all this clinical experience. I have these letters from my program director in my general surgery residency, and that can always help.
Thank you, Jordina. Next up, we have so someone says that that person is a first-year student and publishing paper. How much important does it carry applying into residencies in the United States?
In the United
I had this question, like, is there a cutoff? Like, I've heard from people, from program directors telling me that go and have 25 publications and talk to us. Like, so is there a cutoff that we need to have had, like, let's say 50, 70, 20 publications, only then we'll get through?
So there's no specific cutoff. And sometimes, okay, if you can take anything from this lecture, please take this. And it's not for IMGs, it's for all your entire career. You never wanna do things for the simple fact of achieving a cutoff that will allow you to follow the next step. And in other countries, it's not as important, but in the United States, they take a lot into consideration that what you do makes sense, right? You can say, I love neuroanatomy. I love this part. So I did 6 publications on neuroanatomy. I know exactly all of them because I was involved. And my next step is going to be this one. I have a plan makes sense. I have a reason why I want to do these things. If you start doing this thing here and this thing there and this thing just for the sole fact of achieving that cut of a number, you will be miserable because you won't be enjoying the pathway and you will be stressed out all the time. So that it was just my footnote before talking about the cutoff. There's no specific cutoff. And the number by itself, again, is very tricky to evaluate. That paper, I think, said that for NIH funded institutions, you needed an average of 7 publications. I think that's a good number. But again, if you have one publication in Nature that changed the field, and then another publication that is a case report, that's so much more valuable than having 100 publications that are all case report. They did not have any impact in your specialty or nothing like that. So sometimes it's more having a pathway and a direction and a plan than truly following, okay, what number do we need to achieve? But if you look at these papers and publications of IMGs in neurosurgery, I would say that around 7 is a good number to start. But the competition, some American medical students, they will have 120 papers. And I've talked to program directors on that. It's not necessarily, they don't truly say, oh, this person has 120 papers, we are gonna match this person 100%. No, your personality, your story, the reason why you wanna do neurosurgery, that's very important as well.
Awesome, Jordina. So the next question, I think, is that if we need to do a postdoctoral research, fellowships to boost our CV for neurosurgery under the J-1 visa, won't it hamper the duration of validity of the visa during residency, because the maximum extension is 7 years, but a research would be around 1 to 2 years and a residency would be 7 years after that? That's a good question.
So usually, that's a very good question and very important, because you don't want to have to be there, have the opportunities and not being able to accept them because of visa problems. In general, I must say that the visa issues are source of anxiety for all of us when we start. But most of the people, one way or the other, figure it out. I know very few people that say, "Oh, I was about too much and I didn't because my visa expired." Right? There are ways to extend your visa. There are ways to find a job and get an H-1 visa. Mm, of course, it's challenging because it always goes back to money. But if you have money and you have done work there, either your mentors can sponsor you to get a green card, you can apply for a green card for the outstanding pathway where you say, okay, I've been doing this work in neurosurgery for all these years and I want to become a US citizen. And that's possible. So I know few people who did residency with a J1 visa, and it is true, it's very challenging. I highly recommend to try to get an H1B visa, which is the worker's permit, or to get a green card. But of course, those are much more challenging to get. And then some J1 visa put have this 2-year period where after a certain amount of time you have to go back to your country for 2 years. So it's very important that whenever you are in the embassy doing these visas, that you make sure that they don't mark the 2-year rule.
Thank you so much, Jordina. So to be honest, we're short of time because our next talk is about to start and we've got ample of questions, but like I'm just gonna present one more question, which I think many people starting from the very first year of med school up till their internship, because many people want to apply after that as well. So how important is our CV for assessment? Like what areas should we mainly focus on to apply for USMLE for neurosurgery?
Okay, so I think that the first and the basic part, as Dr. Adara was mentioning in the comments, would be a good score in the USMLE. And I know that step one will become pass or fail, and somebody in the chat asked about that. I do not know, nobody knows the consequences of pass or fail. The program directors are trying to figure out themselves.
Okay.
Some things I've heard is that the score of step two, which will still be a score test, will have more importance. So as an IMG, if you can get a good score in your step two, I think that will help. So first step, basics, having the exams and a good score, because this is just the start. This is a basic condition that we all have to go through if we want to do any residence in the United States. So some people forget about this, do all the other part first, saying, oh, well, in case later I cannot. But then people, IMG, so many I know, they got stuck in that step where they are doing outstanding research. They are working so hard already in great institutions in the United States, but they cannot progress because they didn't take their tests. So I did it before starting any long-term research there, because I knew that I was going to get stuck because I like doing things the right way and I was not going to have time to study. So steps for things. Second, very essential, having connections, experience, rotations in the United States. That they have a lot into account. You can get letters of first, the experience. Either you come back to India, either you stay, I think is something incredible. The experience of understanding another medical system, how people do things in another place, it just enriches your personality, your work as a physician for your patients, the understanding, and you can bring things back. So that just already something very valuable. But second, it will help you a lot to have connections, inside connections, people there who can help you, your experience there. So when you get to your interviews, you can say, well, I've worked with patients, I work with other fellows, I work with other medical students, I've had no problem. So their question about, but you're international, you don't know our system, it goes away from their mind. So steps, doing something in the United States, rotations, research. I do think that especially in the NIH funded programs, in the top programs in the United States, they have a lot into consideration your research. And again, it's not how many, but the quality doing, and I bet you have so many things that have been unexplored in India, because in Spain, we have so many things unexplored. patient outcomes specific from India, patient population, risk factors for brain tumors, spine trauma, brain trauma, and all these. You have tons of patients. You could do populations analysis and just be able to do great work that will be helpful for your country, will be helpful for you as a physician and for your patients, and will increase your opportunities of you know, matching anywhere within your country or in the United States. So those are the three important things. And then the letters of recommendations that go together with doing research and doing your rotations are the last thing that I would like to point out. And again, as I said, and Bobby, as you were saying, especially for women, sometimes we are so afraid that we don't even put ourselves out there. So one has to be courageous, as I said, and courageous doesn't mean to do crazy things. Sometimes means just believing in yourself, believing that for being international, for speaking a different language, for being a woman, for being this or that, we have less chances. We have to understand that makes us who we are. If they don't want us that way, they don't deserve us, right? So we need to put ourselves out there, have a very strong work ethic. It is true, it's still a disadvantage in many other places, but just use the characteristics that make yourself, whoever you are, at your advantage, and see the way you are, which pathway you can follow. So maybe your pathway is not the left one, maybe it's the right one, because you are made that way. So understand yourself, understand what you want, and then with that, just use it as your potential to grow forward, not in the United States, in your own home country.
Well, that's a very good take-home message, Jordina. And I'd just like to tell here, like, add on one thing, which, like, one of my friends, she, like, one of my acquaintances, she messaged me like a few days back when I was doing this cross-sectional research study. So she asked me that, I have been throttled down by so many people for telling me that you're a woman, you're not going to get through. She was like, how are you so motivated? So, I just believe that, it's really important that we have to be yourself. I mean, we all hear it all the time, that be yourself, be yourself. Celebrities are saying be yourself. People are saying be yourself. But what exactly is to be yourself? It actually means you should not be afraid of the world. I mean, people are so much afraid of what the society is going to think about you or what is going to happen, and they stop trying. So it's really important that we actually get out of that box, off that line, and try, because until you don't try, it will be a no. Getting a no after trying is much better than getting a no without trying, because you would not know what would have happened if you would have tried. So Jordina tried, I'm gonna try, and I motivate you, and I want every single young women out there who's got big dreams, that please try. Don't try because you'll get a guy to marry to, or that you'll get a good family to run. Try for your own self, because it's really important that in these days, women needs to be empowered on their own. They don't have to live in a patriarchal society. And neurosurgery is so much dominated by men. Women, it's our time to show them. Thank you so much, Jordina. And we are really short of time. So I guess we can have 1 minute session with Dr. Idara, because he's been trying to say something for long. Sir, you can unmute yourself and share your thoughts for a minute, because we'll have to swap to another session till then.
Hi, thank you so much for giving opportunity. Hi, Jordina, thank you. I was there in Hopkins to did my residency.
Yes.
One thing I think is students, there are 11 students matched in international medical. If you can get all the 11 plus next 5 years, 50 people, if you get what they did, the summary, if you present them, that may give guidance to them. That's what I want to add to your, and amazing inspirational talk. I really appreciate your taking time and helping and being thriving in self-neurosurgery is awesome. A lot of ladies here, yes, the girls are there in surgery, urology, every surgery they are there. So they actually prefer surgery, women than men. I really appreciate your time. Your short term time. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adar. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Sir, it's always an honor, and I'm so happy to see you. I mean, you look fabulous as always.
No, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I think we can swap
Bye.
on to the next session, which is by Dr. Sampath on CT and MRI, the very basics with what a medical student should actually know. And thank you, Dr. Dara. And thank you so much, Jordina, for your time.
Bye.
You can go and have a great lunch. And thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.